Welcome to A to Zephyr with Ryan Nauman from Zephyr. In this podcast, we help wealth managers, financial advisors, and asset managers overcome challenges in creating meaningful investor relationship experiences. We do this by introducing innovations driven by Zephyr's cutting-edge technology and global financial insights. Join us for this journey where we dive into pioneering wealth management strategies as Zephyr draws from decades of experience and guest financial wizards to address the nuances of investment management.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast A to Zephyr. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time and not know the benefits that Zephyr offers within the wealth management industry, here's a quick high-level overview. Zephyr is an investment management software. It's used by financial advisors, wealth managers, asset managers, financial analysts, RIAs, and trust advisors. This podcast will address the many ways that your peers in the industry use it. But to give you a quick look under the hood, Zephyr allows its customers to optimize portfolios, identify risk tolerance, ensure compliance, evaluate performance, proposal generation, and more. 100% of the customers using Zephyr create custom documents, proposals, reproposals, and fact sheets to communicate with their clients and, more importantly, to turn prospects into clients. Joining us today for this discussion is Chris Volpe, Director of Zephyr, Randy Jones, Product Management, and Ryan Nauman, Market Strategist with Zephyr. I'm Bill Tucker, your producer and the moderator of this conversation. Gentlemen, good to see you all again.
Good seeing you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill,
for having us on.
Oh, no, this is great. And Chris, I'm going to start with a kind of obvious question. Other people can join in on this as they see fit, and I say it's obvious because, well, here's the question. Why is creating a portfolio proposal so important, in your opinion, in today's environment?
I will paraphrase a little bit of, it's about the growth, stupid, right? Like it's really about growing your practice and whether that's organic growth by bringing on new clients that you've been referred to or sold or whatever, acquire or being acquired or merging with another practice, being able to demonstrate your investment philosophy, your investment thesis against an existing portfolio or against their existing investments is what's going to drive people to move. And being as customized or as personalized, not customized so much, but as personalized as possible, right, is the key to that. Because, a large portion of people don't leave financial advisors, or they don't leave because their returns are not what they should be, right? They leave because the relationship feels like it's not there, right? They feel like the advisor doesn't have their best interest. They don't understand them, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So being able to create a proposal that is specific to a client at scale. So in other words, without taking 5 hours of the client's time or the potential client's time and another 15 hours of you and your staff's time, being able to do that and then effectively showing why it's better for the client in more than just, hey, I can get you more for less risk, right? Because out of context, that means, or even in context, that doesn't mean anything. I can get you closer to retirement, or I can get you an extra $1,000 in retirement is really the question that needs to be answered. And I think that's the, what people are missing out on is it's not about proposing business because that's standard. It's about how it's done and how it's addressed.
Well, I want to pick up on that for a second too. Designing a personal portfolio, I would imagine, Ryan, I'm going to look to you on this one. It is important because there are, I would imagine, clients coming to sit down with financial advisors and their companies and saying, we have certain parameters that we want to invest within. It seems to me that Zephyr really makes this easy for the financial advisors to listen to their client and then say, yeah, we can show you a portfolio within those parameters. Am I right?
No, you're completely right, Bill. And it all starts, and you mentioned it really all starts with listening, right? That's where it starts and ends, is listening and getting a complete understanding of each client, or prospect's unique situation. That's what Zephyr does really great. It allows financial advisors to complete a profile of their clients or prospects, which really allows them to capture the unique situation, because every investor, as we know, is unique, right? And Chris mentioned it earlier. It's so important for financial advisors. Yes, we sometimes talk about a customized report, but really that report or this information or deliverable has to be personalized. I think that's key. And Chris really hit it on the head. Is customization's nice, but it's more important to be personalized and add a personalized service and proposal to really strengthen that relationship, and for the advisor to understand, the client see the value the advisor brings. And that's really a strong point that Zephyr offers, and to do it efficiently, right? You don't want to spend a bunch of time and have to build different processes to do a proposal. Advisors must accurately capture the investor's full profile, including specific financial goals, investment objectives, and risk tolerance, in order to create that personalized proposal that effectively communicates the individual's unique objectives. Make that proposal clear and comprehensive by building personalized reports and captivating graphics that highlight the risk management and investment strategies that meet the individual's unique investment objectives and goals. And lastly, make sure that those tailored reports and investment strategies align with the investors' overall objectives and risk tolerance, while really being easy to understand. You don't want to cause paralysis by analysis. And this will highlight your value to your clients and increase that very important client engagement, which will keep that relationship, as Chris mentioned, much stronger and lasting as you build that successful practice.
Yeah, well, it's like funny because there's something that Chris said. The tool is efficient. And I think, you sit around, if you go back 10 years ago, if you're a financial advisor, you've got to sit down and work a number of hours to create individual portfolios. All right. This way you can reduce the number of work hours used to create a proposal down to minimal time. So, you mentioned listening. I guess that listening probably is the top tip that financial advisors should consider when they're listening to their clients and trying to create a proposal. You have any more tips?
That's make it personalized, right? Because make that proposal generation captivating, so you really are able to tell your story and show the value as a financial advisor you bring to the client, you bring to the table. And when you make it personalized, that is a connection and that client engagement that you need in order to really build that relationship much stronger. And, make the report captivating, add graphics, because those are the graphics. Page full of numbers, a client or a prospect, you're just going to lose them in a page full of numbers. So make those graphs captivating that tell the story. But at the same time, don't add a bunch of, analytics and content that you're going to lose your client over. Keep it simple. And those are the things that really, really resonate with prospects or clients. And that's going to show your value, your strengths, and increase that client engagement with the prospect or the client. And you said efficient, right? There's only so many hours in a day and a week. And you got to make sure you've got an efficient practice, and that's, leveraging Zephyr allows you to build an efficient practice, so you're not spending hours and hours building a proposal or building a portfolio. Like you said, Bill, years ago, that was the case.
Yeah. No.
I'm just going to jump in for a second.
Chris.
I think something Ryan said was really important, right? And it goes back down to the personalization, right? You need to include enough information and enough analysis, right? So you need to understand your client. Some proposals are going to be, 2 or 3 pages. Some are going to be 20 or 30 pages. Some are going to include ESG analysis. Some are not. Some are going to include, the more sophisticated investors might want more risk analysis and more information on things like the efficient frontier and specific risk statistics and stuff like that. So understanding your client and what's going to cause that client to say yes is as big an issue as anything. And that goes back to just, listening and understanding.
Yep.
No.
And
Ryan?
exactly, Chris is exactly right. Every proposal is going to be different because it's personalized. The only way to make that proposal personalized and meet the needs of the investor is by listening and understanding and asking the right questions so you get a clear understanding of what the client's unique investment objectives are. Otherwise, cookie cutter doesn't work today. And like Chris said, every proposal will be different based on the answers you get and making sure you're asking the right questions.
Yeah, well, it seems like a good time to bring you into the discussion, Randy, because it does beg the question that's been hinted at. What problems does Zephyr solve with this proposal generation tools that it has?
Well, this is going to sound very familiar because it's really summarizing what Chris and Ryan have already stated. First and foremost, maybe not a problem, but a challenge is that our process is designed to help our clients grow their book of business and retain their existing clients. We have a large client that, by quote, said we use the proposal process to win business. So that's a theme, a big theme with our whole proposal process. Second, that's been touched upon, the proposal is the first touch point between the advisor and, say, the prospect. And it is a very personal process. So there has to be a way to understand the existing portfolios, the household, the risk tolerance, risk assessment, the financial goals. So that's a challenge, but we want to make that as an easy process in this first touch point process, which is the proposal. And then thirdly, as Ryan said, the advisor's really trying to present the value they're adding, and they have to be able to articulate that easily and succinctly. So when we think about, again, not necessarily problems, but a challenge, helping our clients grow their book of business, retain their clients, really be able to effectively and efficiently understand the existing situation with their prospect, and then being able to propose through various ways the value that they're going to add and present that and articulate that very easily.
Yeah, no, during this conversation, I keep thinking a proposal is answer. Right? You've got a client sitting in front of you saying, these are the kinds of things I want. This is what I'd like to do. And it gives the financial advisors a way to answer that. And everybody likes an answer. And I'm wondering if you can give me an example of financial advisors using Zephyr to create proposals.
Well, it is a proposal, not a dictation, right?
Right.
So, and there have to be a number of things. So with Zephyr, we have a very intuitive portfolio proposal module specifically designed for this first touch point that the advisor may have with their prospect. We can easily create a household, add the accounts, add the holdings, because we definitely want the advisors to have a way to thoroughly understand and be able to present the characteristics of the existing portfolio. Secondly, many of our clients, models of portfolios as far as a proposal have been around, very popular for about 10 years. They're still popular. Zephyr is a way for our clients to create model portfolios. But more importantly, we have a way to link the models to the risk assessment, to the financial goals. So the process of actually creating the household in Zephyr, managing the accounts, the holdings, then applying a model quickly based on the information that the prospect is providing to the advisor, again, in the way maybe a risk assessment in their financial goals. And then thirdly, with Zephyr is that Chris and Ryan have talked about the ability to create a very custom, tailor-made report depending on the sophistication level and the analysis that you'd like to present in the proposal. As Chris mentioned, that could be a 3-page piece. It could be 50 pages.
Yeah. So
it all depends on, the recipient, the household, how sophisticated, but Zephyr provides the tools from start to finish in that proposal process. And I think you mentioned earlier, it's a process of minutes, not a process of hours.
Right. No, and I know from all my years of working in the financial industry, minutes are way better than ours.
Yeah.
It's just a fact of life. Chris, investors during COVID had to reevaluate their portfolios. How did that affect financial advisors in terms of addressing questions and concerns raised by their clients? And can you give us an idea about maybe reproposals or something along those lines?
Yeah. So interesting, as if the market goes up forever, nobody really worries about it, right? But COVID brought us into a market downswing and subsequently quite a bit of volatility. And that volatility remains today. They're generally on an upswing, but the volatility remains. And so, like anything else, you need to revisit your decisions. And so market changes, life changes, and everything else. And advisors that can quickly and easily repropose either the same or a different investment to existing customers have a better opportunity at keeping those customers because it shows that you're interested, right? It shows you're interested in the client. It shows you want to know more about them, right? And so it develops that relationship that keeps them with you regardless of, I wouldn't say regardless of returns, right? Because if your returns are terrible, obviously if your returns are that big, they're going to leave, right? There's no question about it.
No, but it does show that the financial advisor is paying attention to the realities in the market and does have a concern about their client.
Yeah, and I think looking at it in that way as a reproposal, even if it doesn't change, you're reinforcing the strategy that you set out with the client and everything else. And again, doing it quickly and easily and being able to see it and demonstrate it quickly is the key to that, because you don't want to spend, everybody's used to the 6 month, or everybody knows the 6 month rule, right? You spend 6 months, every 6 months, your financial advisor calls you and says, hey, let's update your plan. It's like, great, now I've got to spend an hour of my time or 2 hours of my time, right? Whereas if you're doing a reproposal, you send that in advance, right? And say, look, I've already done the work, right? I'm assuming that you're a year closer to retirement or whatever the case may be, but assuming no drastic changes, we're good where we are, right? And you can do that not every 6 months. I mean, every month would be too much, but you can do that on a regular basis, right? And augment that so that by the time, you do sit down with a client, you've already got background information. It's not because you're constantly in touch with, you're constantly engaging with them at the level they want to be engaged with.
Just one more build on that. We have the market cycles and like COVID, as Chris mentioned,
right.
But the other one is that, there are numerous risk assessment processes. So maybe you want to present the reproposal, but questions and answers change. And that's another view in that you may have been a little more aggressive in your risk assessment previously. And now your attitudes may change. So it may not be so much the market related, but, the variables in someone's life, like Chris mentioned, changes. And, maybe that will change the model portfolio. So again, over time and doing these reproposals, nothing is static. So whether it is a market event or just life changes, that's a constant reminder that circling back with their clients now. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the process is to help grow the book of business and keep the book of business.
Right.
So it's really that touch point as they go forward. But as variables change within someone's life, the risk assessment may change, financial goals change, then the proposal, has to be updated as well.
Yeah, I would just add as an observation for anybody who wants to respond to this. It seems to me that it's a way for financial advisors, wealth management folks to reassure their clients that they are aware not only of market realities, but client realities. And it gives them a really quick way to respond to both. So with that, I'm going to turn to you, Chris, for some final thoughts on, just wrapping up the idea and importance of creating proposals.
I think a lot of it's all been said, right? The question is, how does somebody act on this, right? There's constant motion, to Randy's point, right? The need to listen and spend time with clients, right? It all sounds really daunting. So I think you just, the answer is just get started, right? And we can help you. We can help you with that. Pick one client. Let's see what we can do with you with one client, but just get started. The market changes and life changes and everything else happen quickly. And so being on top of them is key. And as businesses evolve, and I mean, just the asset management world evolves and the underlying models evolve and everything else, there are so many things changing that if you don't do this, if you don't do something like this, you're going to get caught. And that's the last place you want to be, is getting caught.
So if we have anybody who is involved with asset management and wealth management and want to reach out to you, Chris, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you to arrange a conversation?
I would get in touch with somebody who knows a lot more than I do, like Randy or Ryan, but you can go to the website. You can go to the website. You can ping any one of us. I think within the podcast, our contact details are there as well. And if not, it's first name, last name at informa.com, whatever. Just give yourself an opportunity to succeed.
Absolutely. And we'll let that be the final word unless anybody else has got something to say. I always look to Ryan to see if there's a last word he wants to toss in there, since he knows more than anybody else on the podcast, as we have learned.
If that's the case, then we're not saying much about the other people on the podcast. Now, Chris and Randy did a great job of talking about, Chris did a great job of talking about the importance of proposal generations. And, Randy and you, Bill, said a proposal is that first touch point. Right. So that is why it's so important. And when you're looking to gain clients and gain assets under management, and at the end, show your value to prospects, that proposal is very important. It's always that the first 15 minutes or the first initial conversations you're having with prospects, that's the most important. And when you're leveraging a proposal generation tool, like what's found in Zephyr, it enhances that client relationship, increases firm efficiencies, and it ultimately leads to higher portfolio growth when you understand the client's needs and you provide a personalized approach, proposal, portfolio, and reports. It just makes that bond between you and your client stronger, and then hopefully that next generation of clients.
Yeah, and that's what we all want. To go back to the very start of this podcast, growth. That's what we all want, some growth. Guys, thank you so much for the conversation today. For those of you who are listening to this podcast who have never heard it before, this is easy. You can hear it again by hitting follow. That way you're a subscriber to the podcast, and anytime folks at Zephyr Financial Solutions drop a new edition of this podcast, you'll be notified. Again, you can go to the show notes for contact details to find out who to reach out to if this conversation is interested and intrigued you today. In the meantime, and until next time, on behalf of everybody at Zephyr Financial Solutions, I'm Bill Tucker, thanking you for taking the time to listen today and reminding you that you can make today a great day. Or not. You have a choice. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to A to Zephyr. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available, and be sure to check today's show notes on how you can get in touch with us. Once again, thank you for listening. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Zephyr. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.